Welcome to Strategic Faultline, where geography shapes power. China is opening a more serious path through the Arctic. The attraction is simple: go north instead of south. But the strategic trade is not simple at all. A route that can avoid Suez also runs through a corridor controlled and serviced by Russia. The immediate signal came this month. Rosatom, the Russian state company that operates the Northern Sea route, said it had issued permits for 7 Chinese transit vessels to sail toward Europe through Arctic waters. Then, on August 15th, the Wall Street Journal reported that Chinese shipping company Sea Legend was beginning a regular Arctic service from Ningbo to Felixstowe. The exact commercial scale is still modest. The significance is that the idea is moving from occasional transit toward a repeatable shipping option. At the same time, Russian energy traffic on the same corridor is accelerating. 7 crude cargoes, carrying roughly 6 million barrels, were already heading toward Asia through the Northern Sea route by August 11th. That was close to half the crude volume moved through the route during the entire previous navigation season. These are still small numbers beside global shipping, but that is not the important comparison. The important question is why this route is becoming useful now. Look at the map. The conventional route between East Asia and Northern Europe runs south. Ships cross Southeast Asian waters, enter the Indian Ocean, approach the Red Sea, pass through Suez, then move into the Mediterranean and Atlantic. The Arctic option goes the other way. A vessel can move north through the Bering Strait, follow Russia's Arctic coast across the Chukchi, East Siberian, Laptev, and Kara seas, then continue west toward Europe. Distance is the attraction. Geography removes a large southern detour. But geography also creates a new set of constraints. This is not an open ocean shortcut that any ship can use at any time. Ice conditions change. Navigation is seasonal for much ordinary traffic. Specialized vessels, ice services, local rules, and polar operating requirements matter. The International Maritime Organization's Polar Code adds mandatory safety and environmental requirements for ships operating in polar waters. So the Arctic can shorten a route while making the voyage more specialized. That distinction matters. Russia sits at the center of the corridor. The Northern Sea route follows the Russian Arctic coast. Rosatom's Northern Sea Route Administration handles navigation permissions and icebreaker-related services. Russia has also spent years developing ports, nuclear icebreakers, Arctic energy projects, and specialized shipping. That gives Moscow something sanctions cannot easily erase: geography. Western restrictions can complicate access to finance, technology, insurance, vessels, and ports. They can raise costs. They can delay projects. But they cannot move Russia's coastline. And this is why the Arctic route has strategic value beyond shipping time. It creates a corridor where Russian geography, infrastructure, and regulation become part of the logistics chain. If this analysis is useful, support Strategic Faultline with a like and subscribe. It helps keep these reports clear, focused, and independent. Energy shows how this works. Russian crude shipments through the Northern Sea route started the 2026 season faster than the year before. Reuters reported that the route can cut roughly 2 weeks from voyages to China compared with the traditional Suez path for those cargoes. Then came another signal. On August 14th, Russia's second newly built ice-class LNG carrier, Konstantin Posiet, was reported heading along the Northern Sea route. The vessel was built for the sanctioned Arctic LNG-2 project. It is an Arc 7 ship designed for severe ice conditions. The point is not that one tanker defeats sanctions. The point is that Russia is trying to build an energy system in which Arctic production, Arctic ships, and Arctic routes connect more directly to Asian demand. China is the natural counterpart because its market is large. Its northern ports are closer to Russia's far east, and its commercial operators have an incentive to test routes that reduce dependence on traditional maritime bottlenecks. That does not mean the Northern Sea route is about to replace Suez. The constraints are too important. The Arctic route has seasonal and ice limitations. Specialized ships cost more. Rescue and support infrastructure is thinner than on mature global lanes. Sanctions create commercial and legal risk. Weather and ice can change the economics quickly. And the route solves one dependency by creating another. A ship that avoids the Red Sea may reduce exposure to instability around Bab el-Mandeb and Suez. But along the Russian Arctic coast, it enters a corridor where Russian permissions, infrastructure, and services matter. For China, that trade can still be attractive. Strategic resilience does not require one route to replace another. It requires more than one usable route. A northern corridor can become valuable even if it carries only a fraction of global trade, because it gives selected cargoes another option when southern routes are disrupted, expensive, or politically exposed. This is the larger shift. For decades, maps of global maritime power were dominated by warm-water chokepoints: Malacca, Hormuz, Bab el-Mandeb, and Suez. The Arctic adds a different kind of strategic geography. It is not defined by one narrow strait alone. It is defined by ice, season, specialized ships, long coastlines, sparse infrastructure, and Russian control of the most developed northern corridor. China does not need the Arctic to become a second Suez for the route to matter. It only needs the route to become reliable enough for specific cargoes, specific seasons, and specific moments of geopolitical pressure. That is what makes the latest movements important. The story is not that the Arctic has replaced the old map. The story is that the old map is gaining a northern alternative, and that alternative runs through Russia. If this report helped clarify the issue, subscribe to Strategic Faultline and share your view in the comments. The next report will follow another pressure point in global power.